you know, on a daily basis, so.
I guess to clarify my point, I think the fire officials would probably be better suited to make that discretionary call on whether to allow that fire to be set and intentionally burned, you know.
Oh, that's up to the person.
Yeah, I mean.
Yes. Yeah, you know, law enforcement don't have that discretion. It's still.
Well, they don't have that expertise type thing is what I'm looking at.
Well, yeah, but to that point, so let's say, for example, the wind is at 15 miles an hour, and I call the sheriff's office and say, hey, I'm gonna burn today, and he's like, okay. Should he have said, no, wait a minute, we have a burn ban today because the wind is.
They should be obligated to give you the
Heads up, somebody should. If I
Yeah,
have to call.
If the red flag warning comes out, dispatch will get that on their teletypes.
Right.
And so you call and say, I wanna burn today, they will know that there's a red flag warning from 2 o'clock to 6 o'clock.
Okay, and they're gonna say,
And
hey,
then
you
they'll
can't
give you
burn
that
from 2 to
information.
6.
Yeah, they'll give you that information. Call back at 6 and let's make sure there's not another red flag warning, because sometimes they do extend it, you know.
Yeah, but it's just to make sure we have all of our I's dotted here so that we're not losing a step in the process, because if I wasn't notified and I went ahead and burned, then I got a fine, I'd not be happy about that.
But if you don't call in to the sheriff's department.
But I'm gonna.
I think that's reasonable to call in and check.
I was gonna say, Jeff burned, this spring, and he called in, he said, is there a burn ban? And they checked, came back and said, no, you're fine, go ahead and burn, and he gave him other information. He's required to do that, I think in his, CRP program, I think it specifically states that if you're going to burn, or when you burn, you're supposed to notify the sheriff's office.
Not familiar with that, but I understand what you're saying.
And that's one of those things you're probably supposed to, but there's probably no stick to, if you don't. And so some of them do, some of them don't, but now we have a stick to go along with the carrot.
Well, I think we have this before us, and we will look at it and get it on, have Joe publish that we're gonna have an ordinance, so desire, and go from there. I appreciate all the work you've done on this. I think it's an excellent document myself. I'm very much, also, I'm opposed to it right now.
Yeah, I think you guys have done good work, 'cause it seems like everybody's, the people that are engaged are pretty happy with what you've done so far.
I got with fire chiefs and risk, because if they weren't in favor of it, then,
It'd be tough to do, yeah.
but I just thought it made sense.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next on our agenda is, motion to approve bid electronics as a disposal for our electronic waste. This is brought forth, from Illegal Waste last week, and we will procedurally make a motion to have this, in place. So with that, I entertain a motion to, move that we have Midwest Electronics as a designated vendor for our disposal of Henry County electronic waste.
I make a motion to do that.
For a second. Any other discussion?
I think penciling some of it out, it looks like it'd be cheaper to dispose of some of these things that way than it would be.
It's savings for the county, so that's always a plus.
I will say this, that, brought this to the attention of Great River last week, and they knew about it, but they want us to give them information after we have our tracking, too. So,
And you know, if some of those things can be reclaimed and reutilized, I guess, versus, yeah, I
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, no. You got 2 copies, Robin?
I just want.
Next thing is subcommittees. Jeff?
Not a subcommittee, I just attended the public hearing as all of us did. Didn't have any other subcommittee meetings scheduled last week.
Steve?
I didn't have any subcommittee meetings scheduled, was online talking with some folks from Southeast Iowa Regional, a little more detail and data on our Southeast Iowa Regional Planning, as well as on the C-Bus, getting some more details, and once I get those, I can share those with everybody to make sure that everybody understands where our money is going to. And I should have that within the week, so I'll share that probably in our next meeting. I did have a question in reference to coming up here soon. We do have a special election on May 13th, is that correct, Robert?
That is correct.
For school board person? Okay. I didn't see that on our calendar, so I'm gonna put, I don't know, is that up, you guys have that listed on KI somewhere?
It should be on the, now.
On your calendar? Okay, just making sure that.
Are we to put it on the website's calendar now? Because all we do is tell them to put it on our election site. So are they aware that they have to put it on the calendar?
I don't know. That's what I was curious at.
Yeah, me too.
I think there's
Curious.
a lacking of information there somewhere. Not on our part, I don't think necessarily. And then I've been working on the webpage, so get some interesting input and feedback on our webpage. Some people like change and some people don't, obviously, so I'm getting some good feedback. I think when we have an HR meeting with Paul next time, we need to talk a little bit more in depth about employee recognition. Some folks seem to think that's a good idea and others really, really don't like it. So I think that's a really good subject for us to focus on and get together. I did have a sample that I wanted to show everybody this morning, Mark, share with you. I have not shared this with you yet. This is our current Board of Supervisors page. I think as you look through this, it's a little bit busy, a lot of words, a lot of blue type, those are hyperlinks. I'm going to talk with our folks at Solutions, and this is an alternative to some of that. It's not quite as busy. This is not done yet. It's a work in progress, but it minimizes some of the busyness that we see on the screen and gives us the icons to still go back and look at where we are with minutes, for example. And the effort is just to clean it up and make it more user-friendly. And one of the questions I had from some of the folks here within the courthouse is, who's paying for this, and are we using taxpayer money to make this worthwhile? First of all, I think it's worthwhile because it's not been touched in a number of years to make it more user-friendly and interactive, and I'm open to a lot of input from that. So if your folks have input, and I know we've talked to Kelly a little bit as well, Katie, so she's given us some input, and we'll hopefully continue to do that. Talked with Derek quite a bit and where we're at, and the folks at Solutions. But I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and we'll just take it a step at a time. But when it comes back to cost, we pay on a monthly basis, Solutions, obviously, right, for our contract with them, and that ties into technical support. And over the course of the last several months, we've not used all of those dollars allocated to our technical support. And we could probably argue that, right, Robin? Like, where is the technical support? But we're not using the dollars that are allocated. So I've talked to them and said, if we have a gap, we have money left over, let's continue to use that to work on the web page rather than have to pay them any additional dollars. So it's contractually obligated. We'll fulfill that obligation, but we won't go over that cost. So it'll give us some time and effort to work on it. We'll do it a page at a time and try to get a format that works and everybody can like and agree with, and then we'll go from there. And we did take your picture off of there, right?
Thank you.
And one thing I did get some feedback on is it really surprised the heck out of me. So if you go to the home page, this GIS data property thing, it seems like that is a heavily used icon. You can get to that 3 ways through our webpage. Okay, the icon is there just for quick and easy access. So according to the numbers that Derek gave us, we get 80,000 hits a year on that. So he's gonna refine that. But I specifically asked the folks at Solutions, and they could not give me a number on any of these icons. So Derek said he'd work with them to get that. Derek was sitting in the room when I was talking to the Solutions folks, so he was a little surprised that they couldn't give us the information. But he's gonna continue to work with us. We'll work on that from a priority basis. So if we have that many hits, obviously we need to keep that icon out there and visible. But there are 3 ways to get to GIS data. So it's not like we restricted anything or anybody didn't have access to it. It's just how convenient is it to get there. And that's, again, the whole point is to make this convenient for high volume users. And I'm not necessarily certain, you know, I appreciate the fact that people in the courthouse use it, But the webpage is not just designed for the courthouse employees or the county employees, it's designed as a public-facing document or entity to allow constituents and taxpayers in the county to be able to access it quickly and easily. Hopefully that makes some sense, but we'll continue to work on that. If you have any input, I'm open to it. It's not like Steve's idea, this is all feedback from you folks, just to make it quick and easy. And if you have some time, take a look at Des Moines County, for example, or Lee County. Theirs are pretty clean and they're pretty interactive and pretty accessible. One last question I did have as well, and I don't know where we're at on this, Mr. Chairman, but when we talked about the traffic violation ordinance a while back that Lee County imposed, and I think Steve has maybe had a chance to look at that, I don't know how in-depth.
There's still a few things I wanna check on with it.
Okay.
A couple of things you and I have discussed.
Yeah,
I wanna
okay.
check on.
I think one of the things I'd like to find out, and I don't know how we need to do this, who has the numbers, but what kind of dollars are we talking about if we keep the fine money and and then the court costs go back to the state, obviously, but how many dollars are we talking, where we can allocate that to?
When we presented to us originally, Rich had all those numbers.
Yeah, the money,
Yeah.
the dollar amount, I have no clue.
Well, and I understand that, but it's just so we all are in agreement here that we need to understand where the
But
money
yeah, that
goes
should
to
be looked at.
and how many dollars we're talking about, because I know Lee County said they're looking at like $1.5 million roughly, to be able to use this ordinance and to keep the fine dollars within the county.
And this is separate from the traffic cameras.
That is correct, totally separate from traffic cameras. But the difference, right, Steve, correct me if I'm wrong, is if we keep the fine money, that doesn't go against the driving record?
That's something I need to double check on. If we put our ordinance in place, that's a civil infraction. I have questions yet that I haven't been able to get answers to. Does that count with DOT against your driver's license? Because ordinarily it wouldn't. And I don't even know if DOT gets notified if we convict somebody of a civil offense here. So that's something we need to follow up on.
Okay.
That was one of the issues that we had seen or we discussed was, having an ordinance keep money locally is great, but if it's not gonna count against somebody's driver's license, and we have people who are continually getting tickets, if they keep getting a county ticket, they can get 15 speeding tickets in a year. And then it doesn't impact their license. That's what we need to double check on to see.
But I could get
How that
15 tickets in a year, right, going through Cedar Rapids, and it wouldn't affect my driver's license, just my wallet,
It-
right?
That's the way it should be, yes, and that's what I wanna double check on.
Yeah. Okay. So, I don't know, can we put that on the calendar for a couple of weeks out?
I believe
Discuss
we
that.
can, yes.
Okay, all right, we'll get with Robin and Sheriff Manning and see what you can help us with. I'll do that. Chad, you wanna help me with that?
Yeah.
You got that thing in your background.
Well,
What, from speeding?
Not law enforcement.
yeah, maybe driver services, somebody on driver
Yeah, we need-
services
yeah,
will
we
be
get-
able to make some contacts up
You know
there.
who to
Yeah.
contact.
Yeah,
Okay,
unless they've changed over, you know.
Oh,
unless
they've
they-
changed all the time.
That'd be great.
thank you. Anything else?
That does it for me, thank you.
I had, Great River Regional Waste Authority last Friday morning. Those things of importance would be our engineering update. We looked at our 10-year model of our financial, where we will be and what we need to do. Everything's looking good, possible, changes that we've made. Interesting, we also discussed and implemented a wind policy ordinance.
Down there?
Down there, sort of like, our fire.
Hmm.
So, basically, it's the same thing, a red flag or whatever. We will be, limiting, who can bring in material. and stuff.
Trying to limit like what you go by up there towards Des Moines.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, then we also, looked at our budget for next year, improved it with that. Since we approved our budget for next year, we did approve a expenditure on a track hoe, track excavator. So, they're not cheap at all. But it was surprising the price differences between competitors. And so we improved that. So that's my report on that.
So what'd you end up doing?
We ended up going with the cat over, the Komatsu.
Both bad choices.
Come on.
Holy cow, you're killing me over here. For the wind policy then, is there a mile per hour on that? With the red
Yeah,
flag, or
yeah,
just whatever
on
pops
that,
up?
I think it's the red flag on that. It's at the
Before you-
discretion of the, manager, and a lot has to do with the wind direction also too. And they're going off of the, we have the airport right next to us, and they're using their meter to do all that.
So that will limit the dumping or how they open the cell before they cover
It's
it?
more of the dumping, but the major if you can't call them infraction, but what actually happens, it's your small, like myself bringing in something. A trash compactor comes in and it's much more contained.
Right.
And so it's much easier, so they don't have that infraction.
So like out here, we have a compactor, so we should see significant difference.
Exactly. Public comment.
I will. Yeah, just an observation, I don't know if you guys noticed this or not or thought about it, but it's kind of an interesting weekend we had. Easter coming on the 20th after the 19th, which is a very, very historical day, if you remember. And then on Monday, the Pope dies. So I thought that was all kind of interesting, but anyhow. I suppose you guys know the hose plant at the west end of town's for sale. I just wonder, is there a plan in place, for incentives, a forgivable loan or tax incentives or anything, to keep them here or to lure in a buyer? So, and of course, I've said this before about our county government costing too much, and it takes money out of the economy. And, and I'm thinking about the newspaper exactly, you went to one day a week for a meeting to save money on printing the minutes. And that comes from a private business, the newspaper. And we got the Southeast Iowa Union, covers 3 counties, and they only print twice a week, 2 days a week, that's it. So anyhow, so then I was reading in the paper last week, and it was about the meeting in here the week before, and I didn't think about it at the time, but anyhow, this chairman or Supervisor White, he asked the county attorney about, providing some information, the monthly update. And anyhow, so Stater says, I don't know how valuable it's going to be or what it's really going to reflect. And I thought about that, and I'm like, good grief. I come up with something, for heaven's sakes, every week. I don't know why he couldn't. I'm trying to be serious here.
I'm sorry, you do, yes.
I like to have a good time too, But, and then I got to think about what he said. All these department heads, they give a monthly update. What do you do with that information? How's it used? Are you watching for progress or problems that we can fix or what do you do? Well, anyhow, okay, enough about that. But so this young lady asked me last week, actually. She said she watches this on Facebook, what's going on here, which gets me back to the cameras. People don't know. They don't buy the paper, that, or we'd print more than twice a week. So if we had cameras in here, and I'm not talking about just here, I'm talking about all these offices where people can watch and maybe they can make a better decision when they vote. They need help because they don't know. So, I don't know, I think that's critical. So, I guess that's it.
Yes, because your time is now up too. Thank you.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Leland, I got a question for you. I'm sorry.
That's okay, okay.
You said Continental Factory is closing. When was that?
No, I didn't say they were closing, I said they're for sale. Yes.
Yeah. I had not read that yet. I personally had not read that yet.
Yeah, that's been out for, I don't know, at least 2 weeks. So,
I just wanted to thank you for looking at the website. I've gotten involved in Des Moines County a little bit, and theirs it's so much simpler, like the minutes, the agendas, the videos, it's all right there when you pull it up. It also, when you click on the departments, then it pulls up the whole list, and then there's hyperlinks right underneath each one. Yeah. So when you pull up departments, yeah. So I would just encourage this county to take some looking at that. I think it's awesome because people are now getting more engaged all across the board, like you said, wanting to know what's going on, and it's handy to have it available.
It's a work in
So,
progress.
Yep. So
Yeah, so Mark and I had a little conversation with Derek on Tuesday. So he is still engaged in that.
Okay,
Wants
good.
to move us upstairs pretty soon.
okay,
yeah.
so that my arm will get a break every Thursday.
Not for a little bit. Keep working on it.
I know.
But, yeah, we need to vote on that, obviously, to see where we're at, but he's
Yep.
got some plans in place to help us to support that.
Okay.
Yes.
And I appreciated it Okay, I appreciated at the public hearing that you guys had a little different setup there too. I appreciate the screens in here and the other night up there. So, and the microphone and all of that, because it is hard for people to hear. I have a hard time in here, even hearing Mark up there sometimes. So I think that is something to consider about moving upstairs.
Is she saying you're soft spoken?
Yes.
Is that true?
No comment. It's not my public comment yet.
Other public comment, I know we have
Yeah.
one.
Eric and I both have something. So each spring we stop and pause and celebrate all of our small businesses. We have our Chamber of Commerce members nominate 5 small businesses, and this year it's American Hair Academy, Quality Equipment, help me out, Capstone Pharmacy, Family Medicine, and CrossFit. Yes, CrossFit Tail. So those 5 have been nominated by our Chamber of Commerce members. We do a celebration for them the first full week of May, so more on that to come. They're currently being scheduled, but I brought invitations for you to join us at our small business breakfast on May 9th at 8 a.m. We have Chris Lee, who is a conservationist, being our guest speaker that day, and he talks about your ecosystem in your business. So, any questions, give us a call.
All right, thank you. Erica?
I just wanted to invite you, if you were able in the morning, we're going to be visiting Henry County Conservation as an office, a member visit. Yeah, we're taking some ambassadors down, and Caleb's going to share with us what they've got upcoming in the next few months, so we're excited to hear from them.
Thank you.
When is that?
Tomorrow morning at 10.
Bill?
Yeah, I'd like to speak to the fire ordinance. As a 30-year volunteer with the fire department, as a contractor, and as a farmer, I think I can add a little. Thank you for clarifying. Did the fire department put it out and it restarted, or did he relight it?
Yeah, big difference.
It's the first duty of the fire department is whether your house is on fire and the owner says, let it burn, you put it out. 100% extinguished. On another note, as far as these CRP fires and whatnot, we had an incident close to where I live a couple of years ago. A guy went rogue with a torch to do 10 acres. He ended up burning 700 acres of other people's property. 4 fire departments. It closed 4 roads. One of the fire departments said, please never do this again. If you need to do this, we would be glad to do it for you. I have my fire, where I'm at, if I'm doing demolition or whatever, I notify the fire department, I call the sheriff. Even if the sheriff's called, some do-gooder going down the Avenue of the Saints from probably out of state is gonna call it in. That's why the phone is important. You know, they can call me, I can say, no, we're cool. You know, it's easy to see a fire like a barn. I plan on burning a barn tomorrow. I hope I can get it worked out. I usually burn in a hole. It has way much less chance of spreading. And with, weather pending, we're in better shape. But these people need to call their local fire department. You might have to schedule a burn with them, like on a weekend. It wouldn't take the whole department to do it. 4 or 5 guys come in, and it's really nice if you give them a contribution for that. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Good perspective.
Anything else?
No, I'll echo, I think a lot of fire departments kinda even enjoy doing some of the control.
Up
burns
until
because
now,
It's a good practice.
You do it for training,
Yeah, it's a
but I
good,
think most of the fire departments in the county think they've had enough training this spring. You know,
yeah, cause
So-
there's fire science to it, it's just not spark it off, there's a fire science to it, back burning and, you know,
yeah.
which,
And, you know, like a demo job, this is, my particular job is a barn, it's a big one. You get it in a pile, so some concerned citizen does not fill up the phone lines with the dispatch, you know? So,
Anything else coming for us? Entertain a motion to adjourn?
Public
Oh,
health,
excuse me,
we got a
excuse me.
public health update, so, we're going to be holding a Walk with Ease class again. It's provided through the Arthritis Foundation, and it's geared towards folks who have arthritis to try and keep them mobile. We had done one in January and February, and we did that out at Calvary Baptist. This time we'll be partnering with the rec center. So that will be starting May 12th. It'll be held on Monday, Wednesday, Friday again at 1 p.m. And it's free to the public. So just wanted to get the word out.
Thank you.
You said the rec center. Here.
Yeah.
All right, motion to adjourn then?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
yes.
All in favor say aye.
I-
We are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.